Hey everyone. So you won't believe what just happened. I literally just did my day 11 and I think it's been deleted. I can't find it. So I'm going to have to do it again because, as I said, I made the commitment and I really intend on following through. So I'm sorry if you guys jump on again and hear me repeat the same sort of messaging and what I was just talking about. But I really want to ensure that this day 11 dance between the masculine and the feminine video is uploaded and it's there. So anyway, let's start again. So for those of you that haven't heard it first time round, that I'm going to talk about the masculine and feminine. And it's just really a process, I guess, for you to take stock and to start thinking about, okay, so of those different attributes, where do I tend to, dominate? Where do I tend to, really kind of be predominantly in those energies? And where do I need to allow more of the feminine in, for example? And both males and females have masculine and feminine energies, by the way. But I do want to say, to back up, that, as a society, we've tend to value the masculine energy. The masculine energy, I will explain that in a moment, so you'll know what the masculine is, the feminine, and then what it looks like when it's in a wounded expression, a wounded aspect. But as I said, I feel like society has always valued the masculine because, Terry, hey, the masculine tends to be very much about the logic. It's about the productivity. It's about the success, the succeeding, the achievement. And that, as I said, is what, schools encourage, what even our parents might encourage. So we tend to often grow up thinking that that's the way that you get ahead in life. You are busy, you're productive, you take action, you get shit done, basically. Whereas, society hasn't tended to value the feminine as much. And consequently, a lot of us haven't really developed that energy very strongly. And the feminine energy is very much about the feeling and the intuition and the being and the receiving. So let me just expand on both of those. So as I said, the masculine is very much the doing, the logic, the action or activity. It's about directing, intellect, thinking. It's very much the yang energy. So, in traditional Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine, we talk about yang and yin. So yang is very masculine. It's associated with the sun. It's the day, the heat, hot. It's also the masculine about determination. It's about drive. It's about giving. It's about expansive, assertive, outward focus. It's also to do with structure and organization. It's really about the results or the goal focus orientation. It's also more, urgent and fast, independent, differentiating. It is also a single task focus. It's about competition, and it's to do with more straight lines, more linear. Where the feminine is more, and I just touched on it, it's more about the nurturing and the receiving, the being, the healing, the allowing, the accepting, the inspiration, the fluidity, feelings, the yin energy as opposed to the yang, which we just spoke about. It's more going inwards. It's about creativity and surrender and softness and flowing and cycles and sensuality. And it's more about the process and the journey as opposed to the destination and the goal with the masculine. It's to do more with, integrating and multitasking, and it's about curves and swirls and cycles. So we know, females when they're menstruating have that cycle. And it's also to do with connection and community. And what's interesting is, so from an astrology point of view, so, for instance, you've got, say, the fire signs, which is like, Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is about action. So that's all very masculine. And we know even the fire element, it's about heat, it's about hot, it's about yang. And then, of course, you've got more of the elements like the water element, which is more like, for instance, say Cancer. And the Cancer zodiac sign is more about, being the water, the emotions. It's about, intuition, sensitivity, the nurturing. It's associated more with the mother. And it's interesting because when we talk about the masculine is also more of the conscious mind. And that's where a lot of people tend to focus more on. It's, what are we conscious of? What can we consciously try and change? Let's do affirmations. Let's do things to change on a conscious level. And yeah, it's great to be conscious. But as we know, you know, 95% of what's actually running the show is stored more in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is more feminine. And it's also to do with the moon. So the yin energy, which is more feminine, is more dark, it's more cool, it's more receptive. Whereas I said the yang is kind of more outwards and giving and action and things like that. And it's interesting, as I said, you really do need the two. And that's why I talk about the dance between the two, because it's going to look different for everyone. And it's going to look different even day to day. Because as we know, if you've tended to always be very masculine in a lot of ways, like always busy, always doing, always, productive, it's going to be hard for you to all of a sudden stop and slow down and just be and allow the space and the time for, your intuition. I mean, you're going to struggle to probably hear your intuition because you haven't developed that skill, that muscle. You've been focusing more on the third dimension, potentially, just the keeping the busy and the doing and, getting shit done, like very much that Aries energy. Whereas, as I said, there's other star signs like the Cancer and the Pisces and things like that, the water signs, where it is more about the nurturing and the compassion and the warmth and really just, allowing yourself to drop into the body. Okay, what am I feeling? And actually allowing yourself to feel the feelings and being okay with it, being okay with the vulnerability. Because the masculine tends to be, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep busy, I'm going to keep doing, and, all of those sort of things. It's almost like the emotions can tend to be more suppressed or repressed and more inconvenient. Let's not go there, we've got shit to do. Whereas, as I said, the feminine is kind of like, Avril, hi, how are you? Just saying, I just did this whole video recording and then I don't know where it is, so I'm redoing it. So I'm just talking about the dance with the masculine, feminine, and how it looks different for everyone and even from day to day. So we're just talking more, and I was bringing in astrology. So we're talking about more of the, feminine, which is sort of more, the moon, which is more like the Cancer, which is more of a water sign. And that's more to do with fluidity and emotions and intuition. And then, as I said, you've got the fire signs like the Aries and the Leos and things like that, which is about the action and the masculine energy. And as I said, you need both. You can't be sitting there, meditating and just being and, receiving the intuitive downloads all day and expect that stuff's going to materialize, because it doesn't really work that way. We live in the third dimension. So we still need to actually take steps. So when people talk about aligned action, I think that's a perfect example of marrying the masculine and the feminine, because it's almost like you're just sitting and you're stopping and you're pausing and you're reflecting and you're being present and you're being open to receiving more wisdom coming through you. And then you take, the action steps, which is that beautiful masculine energy in its best expression. So, you can sort of see how, and even for, men that are out there that are, highly successful, when you look at some of the famous males that have been very successful in their fields, they're really intuitive. And they will often say that they get their best downloads and their, creative, inspiration, at all weird sort of times. Like it might be in the shower, or it might be, during the night or whatever. So, there is a time and a place for both men and female to bring in both. And as I said, as someone who's tended to be in the masculine energy most of my life, and as I said, that's what society, that's what schools and unis and everyone encourages, being productive and, taking action and getting good grades and, the success and the achievement and the striving and the doing. It can be really hard to just drop into the body and start feeling the feelings and, trusting your intuition and knowing what that is and deciphering, is that just my overactive imagination, or is that actually my intuition and higher wisdom coming through? So, and as I said, you want the balance. You don't want too much yang, because that's kind of going to burn you out. You and the sun too much, you're going to burn. Likewise, if you are too much yin, if you're always just sitting, and you're always just kind of, being and, not really getting out and being active, then that is going to be more conducive to, being more tired, no energy, things like that. So anyway, just some food for thought, really, just to get you to start thinking about, okay, well, that's true. So where do I need to start to bring more of the other energy in? How can I best do that? and where have I tended to predominate in the past. So it's just some things to think about, but it's really quite interesting. And as I said, once you start delving into your birth chart, your natal chart, you can start seeing some really interesting areas where there is a lot of the masculine and where more of the feminine is, and where there's wounding and things like that, because we've all got the wounded parts of us. We've got karmic debts, we've got things that motivate us, our life purpose. So anyway, as I said, I just wanted to put that out there, give you something to think about, and I will see you tomorrow